Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to give you a really clear, actionable plan that if you follow, you will be able to add an extra 15K a month to your agency by the end of the year. And the reason that I'm doing this is because we've used this same process for a multitude of different agencies at this point that they've used it, and they've taken this strategy and got the same results that I'm telling you about in today's video. Now, obviously it's August, so we're giving ourselves a few months to get there. If you're watching this later in the year, then you just got to add however many months we've got left of the year. You just add the extra 4 months, the September, October, November, December, add those extra 4 months into the calendar and just push it forward by 4 months. It's essentially what you've got to do, okay? But listen up, I'm going to give you a very, very clear plan to follow. And if you follow this, you will be able to get some clients to your agency. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing for us to keep in mind when it comes to adding an extra 15K a month to the agency, if you're starting from scratch or if you've been around for a while, this still applies. What you've had up until this point is going to change in order for you to go further. And what I mean by that is if you're a complete beginner, then you need to have a good understanding of your niche, and you need to have chosen a niche in the first place, and you need to have a good offer in place. Now, I'm not going to talk about those two things in this video because I've spoken about it many times in the past. And today I want to focus on the core actionable steps, the numbers that you need to be paying attention to, and the processes that you've got to have in place. And you've got to start looking at this as a bit of a game / a bit of a scientist. I don't know which analogy is going to work better for you, but if you a bit of a gamer in the past, and you've got to look at, just as we level up in the video games, you've got to level up in real life. And I know that you've heard this analogy before if you are a gamer, but I'm going to give you the exact stats to look for today. So just like if you're playing a game and you've got to level up and it says you've got to get 200 extra points, I'm going to tell you what those 200 extra points reflect to in real life. Because once we know where we're going, it's really, really easy to build our plan to get there. And again, I'm actually going to give you that step-by-step plan today. But essentially what I'm saying is once you understand your numbers, once you understand the processes you need to follow, then the only thing that remains is for you to consistently take action. And if you're able to consistently take action on the things I'll tell you to, you will end up signing clients for your agency. So the first thing that we really want to understand is our financial goal, okay? What I'm going to set for the sake of this video, and it's going out to everybody, if your goal is a little bit different, then fine, but just follow the example and you can change these steps afterwards. So I'm going to set a target of 15K, all right? I'm British, so we're going to say 15,000 pounds. It could be euros, it could be dollars, but 15K, whatever that is for you, all right? And we're going to go under the idea that you're selling a retainer of 1,500 pounds. Now, if yours is a little bit higher, again, just work with me for this example, and then you can change the numbers later to reflect yours and make it more personal, okay? But I'm going to keep it simple for the sake of this video. I'm going to say, if we want to get to 15K and we've got a 1,500 retainer, then we need 10 clients, which is pretty obvious, right? That's very simple math. Now, with this said, what we've got to do is make sure that we're targeting a niche that can afford that. We're leading with an offer that can deliver more value than we're asking for. So we're asking for 1,500, which means that we need to drive more than 1,500 in value. And we've also got to make sure that we're not charging obviously cheaper than 1,500. So we've got to make sure that it's valuable enough. We've got to make sure that the market can pay that figure. And for those of you that have been offering less than 1,500, I mean, the rest of this process is going to be really tough for you. So let's just try and keep 1,500 as the bare minimum going forward for the rest of this year, and really for the rest of your agency journey. It shouldn't be any lower than that, and ideally it should be higher. So we know what our financial goal is, 15K. In order to get there, we need to have 10 clients. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use really simple benchmarks just to make this easy and to kind of reverse engineer the process for you to build out that plan, okay? Now, anticipating that we need 10 clients at 1,500 to hit the 15K target, I'm going to make the assumption that you're not very good at sales. Maybe you're a beginner, you're just getting started. If you've got more experience and you know what your sales closing rate is, then of course adjust these numbers accordingly. But if you need 10 clients, I'm going to assume that you can close 1 in every 10 sales calls that you take, which is really low. As a beginner, you should have no problem doing that if you're booking qualified calls. So I'm going to, again, make the assumption that you've got a 10% close rate. So you close 1 in every 10 meetings, which means in order for you to get 10 clients, you need to have 100 sales calls that show up, okay? You book 100 sales calls, you have a 10% close rate, which means you close 1 in 10. And that means that you close 10 clients from those 100 meetings that show up. But not all of the calls that are booked, not all of the sales meetings that are booked are going to show up. So again, what I mean by that is, there's a discrepancy between people that book in and people that actually attend the call. And what I'm going to do for the simplicity's sake, and to make this pretty simple for you, I'm going to use a decent number, which is 80% show up rate. Now, if you have a good outreach system in place, you should be able to get an 80% show up rate. It's not particularly high, but also I've seen a lot worse. I've seen a lot lower. I've seen higher. I mean, we get a 94% show up rate, which is really good. And just side note, I made a video recently about that, so I'm not going to cover it too much today. But again, for the sake of the numbers, I'm going to assume that you've got an 80% close rate. An 80% show up rate. Now, based on the fact that we need to have 100 people show up for the call, and you've got an 80% show up rate, what that means is we need to essentially book 125 calls for you to have 100 people show up. And again, if you have 100 people show up at a 10% close rate, you're going to be able to sign those 10 clients at £1,500 to take you to 15K a month. Okay, I hope this is all adding up and it's all making sense to you. So if we need to book 125 calls in order for you to get the right numbers, and again, I'm not going to run through that again, I just said it, but in order to get the 125 books being scheduled, we need to look at the step before that now, which is outreaches. How many outreaches will it take for you to book one meeting? And if we can figure out how many it would take to book one meeting, we just got to times that by 125, okay? So I'm going to go under the assumption that you have somewhat decent outreach, right? You've been following my videos, maybe you've been through some other people's as well, and you've come across with a script and you've got a campaign that's working decently well, or at least could work decently well if you follow, everything that we're talking about today. So what we're going to come down to now is I'm going to again make an assumption that you've got a 1% meeting book rate. Why 1%? Well, because I've seen as low as 0.5 and even less, and I've seen as high as 6 to 8% meeting book rate at scale. So again, I'm going to assume that you're just getting started and you're somewhat decent, but you're not that great yet, and that's okay. So we're going to assume that you've got a 1% meeting book rate. Now, this is where it gets really fun, because if we need to book 125 calls, meaning to book 125 to get 100 to show, and we've got a 1% meeting book rate, which means for every 100 outreaches we send, we book one meeting, which actually isn't as bad as it may sound. If that's the scenario, then what that means is we need to do 12,500 outreaches to book 125 meetings. Now, with 125 meetings booked, we're going to have 100 meetings that actually go live, 100 people that actually show up to the call. Then you'll get your 10 clients and you'll get your 15K. All right. So that's what it looks like all the way from the top. Let's run through it one more time. 1% meeting book rate is the first metric that you want to pay attention to. So you got to do 12,500 outreaches and you'll book 125 meetings. 125 meetings at an 80% show up rate is going to get you 100 meetings to show. A 10% close rate on the 100 meetings is going to get you 10 clients. And 10 clients at 1,500 a month is going to get you 15K a month in revenue. Okay, I hope that is all making a lot of sense. So what this means is that we've got to set up our funnel, because that's what this is. It's a sales funnel. We got to set up our sales funnel in a way that hit those metrics. And you know how I said earlier that we got to be a little bit of like a gamer or like a bit of a scientist here. What I mean by that is now this outreach, this agency growth thing can become fun, because we just have to do enough outreach to be able to figure out and make changes and make improvements until the point that we've got a 1% meeting book rate. And when we've got a 100% meeting book rate, we need to tweak our show up sequences to get an 80% show up rate. And then once we've got an 80% show up rate, we need to tweak our sales process until we've got at least a 10% close rate. And if you're able to follow through on all of those, you'll be able to make this really, really simple for you to get the results that you're after. And in case you're wondering, with that 12,500 outreaches, what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide it by 4 months. And then from there, what we figure out is that you need to do 3,125 outreaches every single month. If you do 3,125 outreaches every month, you times that by 4 months, then you're going to get to 12,500 outreaches. Okay, now again, let's divide that even further. So 3,125 outreaches in 1 month divided by 20 days. So let's just say that you want this, but you don't want it bad enough. So you're only working 5 days a week. Well, let's say, okay, 5 days a week, that's still pretty fair. So 3,125 divided by 20 working days in a month. I know it's not always the case, but let's just say 20 working days. It's going to total around 157 outreaches a day. Let me put this into perspective. If you are able to find a way to do 157 outreaches every single day, and you hit the metrics that we've spoken about in this video, right? I'm not going to run through them again. I'll run them through in a second. But if you're able to do 157 outreaches a day and hit all of those KPIs, those metrics that we spoke about, you will be able to add 15K a month to your agency by the end of the year. And what I mean by that is within the next 4 months. Okay, it only takes 4 months. If you're able to hit these metrics, it only takes 4 months for you to hit your goals. And you know where this gets even more exciting? Well, let's just say that you've got some sales experience and you've got a 20% close rate instead of a 10% close rate. Well, then now you just get to half everything, or you do the same outreaches, but you half the time. You get there in 2 months instead. Or let's say that your metrics stay the same, those 157 outreaches a day that I said, what if you just doubled that? What if everything else stayed the same, but you doubled those outreaches? Well, then you may be able to get there in 2 months instead of 4. Now, what I don't want to do today is set the wrong expectation. I hope that I'm able to communicate enough that the most important thing here, and that the place that our success is based on, is the metrics. If the metrics are lower than what I'm telling you, then your results are going to be lower than what I'm telling you they're going to be. Your job becomes, how can I make these KPIs, these metrics, the metrics, right? KPI is a key performance indicator. An 80% sharp rate is your target, okay? And the metric is just that, it's the sharp rate. It is the 80% sharp rate. So what does this look like in practicality? If we apply it to real life, what does this look like? Well, it means that you've got to do 157 outreaches every day. By doing that for the next 4 months, you're going to book the 125 meetings that you need. By doing that, you're going to have 100 meetings show up. By doing that, you're going to close 10% of those, so you're going to close 10 clients. At £1,500 is 15K a month. Now, let me just quickly run you through just a quick couple strategies for each segment. Again, I've got other videos that talk about this further. I've got videos that go into the sharp rate. I've got videos that talk about the close rate. I've got videos that talk about how to do better outreach and get better results. I've shown you everything. It's all on my channel, but I'm going to give you just a couple little bits right now that you can take, and then you can go ahead and improve everything further, okay? So when it comes to the close rate, you need to look at what that includes. Well, it's everything that happens in the sales calls. So it's everything that happens on the sales calls in terms of your discovery process, you asking the right questions to your prospects for you to be able to qualify them, but for you to also enable them to have the right beliefs that they need to be able to see that whatever you're positioning later as your pitch to be the one solution that they really need. Okay, there's 2 main reasons in my eyes that we have that discovery process, and it is just that. It's number 1, to qualify the prospect, because we're not going to pitch somebody that's not qualified. So first things, we're qualifying them. But second thing, once we know that they're qualified, we want to ask them the right questions for them to raise this desire to buy, this desire to invest into their growth, to take action in something that's going to help them achieve their goals, because ultimately that is what your offer is doing, right? It's helping them grow their business. So if they are the right fit, you should be asking the right questions that's going to help them be in an emotional state where they're like, I need help right now. I'm in a great deal of pain. This person that I just happen to be on the call with can solve that for me. Well, that makes them in a receptive place to buy. Now, of course, you've got to position it correctly in the pitch, right? If your pitch isn't positioning what you're offering as a solution to the pain that you've caused you in the sales call, they're not going to purchase from you. They're going to be in a heightened state of pain if you have good discovery questions, and they're going to feel in a state of pain. They're going to realize that they need to do something, they need to make a change. But if your pitch sucks, and if you're not good at sales, then what's going to happen is they're going to be in this great deal of pain, and you're not going to offer a good enough solution. So then they will go back to the market, they'll find somebody that's better at sales, and they'll get closed by that person. All right. This is why it's very important for you to increase your sales skills so you can make sure that you can close the people whose pain you raise, right? Every time that you have this sales conversation with them, you raise their pain. And if somebody else closes it, then you've kind of done all the work for that closer, that person that's closing them. Okay. So in terms of the sales process, there are actually four main elements that you want to look at. Number one, making sure that you're speaking with qualified people. Number two, the discovery phase, which has the two goals that I just spoke about, qualification and getting the right beliefs within the prospect for you to be able to convert them into a buyer, into a client. The first two. Then your pitch, make sure that your pitch is on point, your pitch is really good. And then fourth is your objection handling. Make sure that you're able to overcome any concerns that people have, or at least help them overcome their concerns at the bare minimum. Now, back in my day when I first started, I didn't do much objection handling. Big mistake, right? You need to be able to see that when it comes to sales, we're not just trying to overcome them for the sake of making money. We're trying to help them overcome their own concerns so they can get out of their own way and so they can actually make money with you and invest in what you're doing and grow their business. Okay? So that's the sales aspect. Again, I'm just going to kind of keep this short, but that's the sales aspect. Now, looking at the next element down, the next metric down, which is the show up rate. Again, I just recently created a full video on this. So go ahead and watch that video and that will help you out. It's on my channel. Just type show up rate and it will come up. But a couple little things right now, make sure that you have at least a confirmation and reminders that go out. So when somebody books in a call with you, make sure that they receive a email and an SMS message that say, this is your confirmation for the meeting. And then they receive at least 2 or 3 or even more reminders saying your appointment with me is at this time on this date and this is how you can access it, i.e. you put in your Zoom link, you put in your Google Meets link, whatever that is, okay? By doing that alone, it's going to help you. And then in addition to that, you got to make sure that there's enough value associated with that call. So what I do often is when people book in a call with me, they will land on a page that kind of pre-sells them a little bit. And if you've ever booked in a sales call or a demo call with me, then you get the idea. But it kind of pre-sells the prospect a little bit. And what I mean by that is, again, it establishes what I said before, the qualification. It kind of is polarizing. So it's really good to some, and to some, they're not going to like it at all. And for those that don't like it, won't show up, and that's good. And for those that do really like it, they're going to show up and they're going to be even warmer and ready to buy. Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is we just kind of flood them with a bunch of client results so they can see what's possible with us and what they could potentially achieve if they pull the trigger and end up joining the program and getting our help. Okay, so that's the show up rate. Is number one, having the confirmations, having reminders, and number two, pre-warming them before. If you don't have a bunch of results and stuff like that, make sure you add them to social media so they can be nurtured by your content. They can see that before showing up to the call. It establishes you higher and more authority and more expertise. So there's a real reason deep down for them to actually attend that meeting. You know, you just saying, hey, we can help you get X result in X days. I mean, it sounds cool, but let's face it, a lot of people are offering stuff like that. So you've got to go ahead and stand out. And the number one way to stand out is by showing that you know what you're talking about and you can actually be the difference that they're looking for. Now, coming down from show up rate, what are we looking at next? So next is about bookings. It's booking enough calls in the first place. Now, it's really difficult for me to talk about this here because there's so many different ways to book calls. Again, I've got a bunch of different strategies on my channel that you can check out that will show you exactly how we're booking calls. Again, we're really seeing anywhere from a 3 to 6% meeting book rate at scale. So this isn't just a couple outreaches. This is at scale, thousands. And we're only able to do that because we're able to create campaigns that really reach out to the psychology of the prospects. We know these people inside out at such extreme detail that we're able to describe their day better than they can, right? We know what they're doing, we know what their hobbies are, we know how they spend their time, and we know what makes them buy. And thus, what makes them respond to an outreach message, right? So typically, this is where we rebound back to the beginning of the video when I said that offer is super important. It's because really your success of your outreach is largely going to come down to how good your offer is. But deeper than that, it's how well you understand your market. The better you understand your market, the better your messaging is going to be, the better that offer is going to be in terms of what you help them achieve. Okay? And if you're able to have the worst outreach in the world, but the best offer in the world, then that outreach is always going to perform really well. So if you can have a really good, solid offer in place, your outreach becomes a lot easier. Okay, it doesn't solve everything, but it comes a lot easier. Now, 2 quick things I'm going to give you when it comes to outreach. Number 1, follow up, right? The moment that somebody shows you interest, I know I'm kind of skipping this a little bit, but the moment that somebody shows you any interest, you need to follow up with them consistently and for a long period of time. I've still got people that we're following up with 2-3 years down the line. They're still getting follow-ups from us, personalized follow-ups where I truly care about these people and I want to help them out. And I'm like, hey, if you're doing well, you're doing well. You don't need our help. Great. But dude, if you're still in the same position that you were in 2 years ago, I owe it to you to reach out and help you because I know that I can. And that's the kind of energy that I give off and the energy that you want to give off as well. So point number 2, I didn't touch on point number 1. I'm kind of going in the wrong order. Apologies for that. But point number 2 is you make sure you follow up with people. Follow up with people enough and they will eventually get warmed up and more warmed up and more warmed up and they will end up becoming a client if it's the right thing for them, okay? Number 1, honestly, is consistency. Right? The number 1 thing and the number 1 reason I see people fail with outreach is because they're just not doing it enough. They're just not being consistent. I told you in this video, you need to do 157 outreaches. And there's genuinely going to be people watching that and being like, 157? Bro, that's too much. I want to do like 10. You're not going to win. You're not going to be able to do it. It's going to take you 40 months instead of 4 because you're doing 10% of the work. Right? You need to find a way. How can I do 157 outreaches becomes your number 1 question now. How can I find a way to do 157 outreaches every single day, Monday to Friday for the next 4 months? And if you're able to answer that question, you'll be able to hit 15K with your agency. How do you answer the question? Check out the rest of the content that I've got on my channel. Build an outreach system in place that allows you to book meetings at a 1% meeting book rate at the bare minimum. And by doing that, 157 outreaches a day, you will be able to add 15K a month to your agency by the end of the year. So that's the conclusion. That's pretty much everything. That's all you got to focus on. Now, if you are an agency owner yourself and you would like a more consistent and predictable flow of meetings coming in for the agency so you can sign clients and you would like me to go in more detail, then click the link down below in the description. Right now, I am offering spaces for my one-on-one mentorship program where I help you grow your agency. Everything that we've spoken about, and I've got so much more that I can't share in a YouTube video like this. But there's so much more that I can help you with to take you to the next level. So if you want to do that on a guaranteed basis, click the link down below. It will tell you on what I'm doing and it will pre-warm you and it will talk about all the stuff that I've spoken about today. It's going to put you in a position where you will want to buy what I offer because I tell you what, it works. It works really, really well. So I hope you click that link so I can help you out. But if you're not ready for that, that's fine. Just click subscribe, keep watching my free videos. They are free, they will help you out. They will help you do way more than you would do just trying to figure it out by yourself. I'm trying to be respectful. I've gone through the hard way myself and that's why I create these videos. So I hope you got some value today. I know numbers can be a bit crazy. If you guys need me to break it down in the comments, let me know. I'll quickly post a quick summary so you know what I'm talking about. But if you hit these metrics, you're going to smash it. And I believe in you. You've got this. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you get on. And I'll see you again in the next video.